Hello, this will be our review of the Sunday School lesson from Joshua chapter 6. We have crossed the Jordan River, camping out on the west side of Jordan. We've been camped there between Jordan and Jericho for a couple of weeks. And so the Lord has come to Joshua and has given him the battle plan, so to speak, of how they're going to take the city of Jericho. And so we see here in chapter 6, verse 1, that Jericho is straitly shut up. None are going in and none are going out. They have seen the Hebrews cross the Jordan. They have known of the exploits that the Lord has done on behalf of the children of Israel. And so the work of God has been evident to the people of Jericho. They are afraid of Jericho, as we saw of Rahab's review or discussion with the spies in chapter 2. The Rahab and the people of Canaan and the people of Jericho were fully aware of what God has done and what God was going to do to give the land to the Hebrews. And so now that they are just a few miles away on the western side of the Jordan River, Jericho is prepared for the onslaught coming from Israel. And God gives instructions to Joshua from about verses 2 down to verse 9 or so, and basically tells Joshua that you are going to circle the city once a day for 6 days in a specific pattern with the Ark of the Covenant and men with horns. I'm not going to really dig into all the details there. But on the seventh day, the army will march around the city 7 times, and on the seventh time, the men will, or the ones with the horns will blow the horns, and the army will shout, and the walls of the city will fall. And then that will allow the Hebrews to then go into the city and utterly destroy all the inhabitants of the city. And we get to verse 18. Joshua had given the people the command that they were not to take any of the spoils of war except for the items of brass and iron, gold and silver, and that they were to be given to the treasury of the Lord. And so that was a direct command that the army was not to take any of the spoils, but they were to utterly destroy the people of the city, everything that lived, and the city itself. And it says that and Joshua remembered the promise that had been made to Rahab and to her family, and he tells the spies to go into Rahab. So it's obvious that the section of the wall that Rahab and her family lived in, did not fall. And we see it toward the latter end of chapter 6 that the spies go and rescue Rahab and her family and take her into the camp of the Israelites, as you see there toward the last of the chapter, chapter 20 or verse 25. But imagine 600,000 soldiers yelling and screaming, and the dust and the smoke and the ash that rises from Jericho. Jericho was on a plain or a higher elevation than that or the land around it. And so I am certain that cities around the area, even probably for maybe tens of miles, could hear the chaos and see the smoke of the burning of the city of Jericho. And as we'll see in chapter 7 and chapter 8, the next city, Ai, was not too terribly far away from Jericho. And so I'm certain that the people of Ai especially could see and hear all that was going on in Jericho. But God, having Joshua and the army circle the city, was completely unconventional, because I'm certain that Joshua had probably prepared and thought about how they were going to go through the gate of the city. I'm sure that the people of Jericho had barricaded the gate, and so that was going to be a near impossible task for Israel to go through the gate. And so it was obvious, though, that God had other plans, and that God had an unconventional plan for the army of Israel to conquer Jericho. And so we see God moving miraculously through this army and taking of the city. A curse was placed upon the city there toward the end of verse, or in chapter 6, verse 25 or 26. and Joshua says that any man that tries to rebuild the city will be cursed. And so this battle of Jericho was the first of several battles that the Hebrews are going to face. They come out with clean success. No one is lost. No one is harmed. It's not, well, at least it's not recorded that anyone was lost or harmed, and I really don't think that was the case. That I think that there was no one harmed or lost in this battle of Jericho. And so God obviously showing his power, showing his might, and showing that his plan is always the best, because no army in the country or in the world would come up with a plan to just circle the city like Israel did. And so keep in mind that the people of Jericho were afraid. I'm sure that they were hunkered down, that they weren't even looking out over the wall. In my opinion, I think that they were hunkered down to the point that they probably were really confused as to the plan that Joshua was commencing with the circling of the city once a day for 6 days and 7 times on the 7th day. But we see here God's mighty hand working. We see here God using his power, and we also see here Joshua and the army in complete obedience to their God in conquering this city of Jericho. That's our review for Joshua chapter 6. I thank you for watching.